good afternoon, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. It's the 4th of February, Saturday afternoon here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It was a little chilly here this morning. We're about the low single digits here this morning. Nowhere near as cold as Mount Washington. This was the weather cam this morning at 6,288 feet, minus 47 degrees. If that's the case, if that holds up, it'll be the all-time low record here. It's tying it back from 20 January 1934 for any day. So that would also, wind chill was about 108 below zero with the winds gusting to 104 miles per hour. That would be a record for any wind chill in the U.S. in recorded history. So we'll see if all these numbers hold up here, but obviously frigid up on top of Mount Washington. The other interesting news here is this balloon traversing the U.S. here. It's moved from Kansas City here yesterday to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I think they saw it this morning. It's moving above the jet stream. It's about 60,000 feet, so jet stream's typically closer to 30, 40,000 feet. So it's well above that, so the winds aren't as strong at that altitude, but nonetheless, we can see that the NOAA's got a neat model here that can actually put the elevation, and it'll track where it's headed next. So pretty much tomorrow it'll be somewhere near Bermuda, and then heading out into the open Atlantic. So again, a headline news event for sure. Last week, World Summer here, ending here tonight, 4 Feb. Here in the U.S., cold, 1.6 colder than last year, coldest in 9 years, fifth coldest in 38 years, so much below average temperatures. This map here is the trends versus a year ago. 42% drier than last year, least in 6 years, 18th driest in 38, so below average on the precip front and way below average on the snowfall front, 76% less than last year, least in 18 years, 6th least in 38, so below average there. Did have that big ice storm that went through Texas and parts of the south central U.S., but snow front at least, not a lot. Canada, also the coldest in 4, very warm there in the U.K., warmest in 19 years. Australia also a cool spot, coolest in 8 years. Maps inset left are the trends versus average. A big pattern change we've been talking about here. You can still see it evolving here, but La Niña after 3 years is finally going to go poof and basically get her into a El Nino-like cycle. Model chart right here shows that the average consensus of the models is that we'd be in an El Nino phase starting sometime in mid to late spring, almost certainly by summer. We do believe this is completely breaking down the cycles. You're starting to see that reflected in some of the weather patterns as well. Drought is improving. Continue to see, obviously this is long-term drought, but California is in much better shape than they were just a few months ago, and this is spreading throughout the Rockies, even the plains. 62% of the country is still in dry to drought phases, but that's again improving, so it's the least in several years. So going in the right direction for sure. If we look at the season-to-date snowfall, that's actually as of through this morning, still trending about 5% more than last year. We're hanging on by a hair here for more than last year, but still 12% below average, 13th least in 38 years, so not a lot of snow for sure. We'll be talking about a ton of snow here for 23, 24 winter as this El Nino cycle takes shape. So hold on, snow lovers. There's hope for next winter. Probably not much for this winter. Polar vortex is still one more shot here. It may come in briefly next weekend, but just as it comes in, as fast as it goes out. So it's pretty symmetrical. So it's when it's symmetrical, it tends to keep the cold air bottled up in far northern Alaska, the North Pole, Siberia. But again, maybe one more glancing shot here next weekend. Look at this week here ending 11 February here. So again, big change here. So again, this freezing cold weather here we're having this morning is pretty much gone with very warm, much above average conditions here. So U.S. overall about 3.5 warmer than last year, warmest in 6, fourth warmest in 38 years, so much above average national temperatures. If there's a cool spot, it's right there in the central Rockies. Rainfall, while up 169%, still 15th driest and below average. Snowfall, not much. Again, high elevations in the west where people don't tend to live, and maybe the upper plains and high elevations of New England. But overall, probably the least snowfall in 38 plus years for this early middle February week. We'll look at the 6-day snowfall here. You can see again some of that impacting the Sierras. Don't tell them that's not a lot of snow they've had. They've been the ground zero for heavy snow this year. So again, more on Sunday for them, fizzling on Monday in the Rockies, and then not much. And so we just aggregate the 6-day trends here. We can see that, again, pretty much the very high elevations in the west, but not much for where people live. And again, this just puts the 6-day trend into perspective. Again, second least, for this 6-day period, second least in 38 years. We have to go back to 1991 to have less snow than we're having this 6-day period. Next week, again, Valentine's Day week, and the week prior to President's Day, again, looking at the U.S. here, same general trend, 4.7 warmer than last year, warmest in 6 years, third warmest in 38 years, so much above average. Maybe a little misleading here because there could be a dip of cold weather right in the middle of these 2 weeks, briefly the coming weekend before Valentine's Day, but then warming up again. So it's another maybe very brief shot of the polar vortex and then lifting out very quickly. 32% drier than a year ago, driest in 8 years, 8th driest in 38, so below average on that front. And again, least snow in 12 years, so not a lot there as well. Just again, high elevations of the Rockies and far New England. If we aggregate these 2-week world trends here through 18th February here, so we see the much warmer pattern here across North America. Cold spots would be where the polar vortex is at, Alaska, northern Canada, northeast Siberia. So that's kind of where it's going to predominantly anchor out here for the next few weeks with just, again, very occasional, very fast shots here in the U.S. that might last a couple of days. So with that, folks, we hope you have a great week, and we will be back here again this time next week.